Titanic treasure. Titanic treasure. Focus question. What lesson do the sinking of the Titanic and discovery of its remains provide? Introduction. The sea was calm as a huge new ship bound for New York City crossed the Atlantic Ocean. Suddenly, just before midnight, the crew and passengers felt a jarring thud as the ship struck an iceberg. Less than 3 hours later, the ship broke in two, disappeared underwater, and sank to the bottom of the ocean. The Titanic was gone forever. Or was it? The unsinkable ship. The Titanic was built in 1911 to travel across the Atlantic Ocean. Back in the early 1900s, airplanes were not available for passenger travel. The only way to travel between Europe and the United States was by ship. The Titanic was the largest passenger ship ever built. It rose 12 stories high, and length from bow to stern equaled 3 football fields. The builders fitted the ship with watertight doors to prevent the ship from sinking. Tragedy strikes. Many people wanted to travel on the ship's maiden voyage. The last passengers boarded the Titanic on April 10, 1912. The ship left Southampton, England, and sailed for New York City, United States, but it never arrived. On the night of April 14, the ship struck an iceberg. People were not worried because they had been told that the ship was unsinkable. The side of the ship scraped an iceberg, causing seawater to pour in. With more than 2,200 people aboard, the Titanic started to sink. The ship did not carry enough lifeboats because people believed the ship was unsinkable. Women and children quickly filled the few lifeboats that were available. Many people in the lower decks could not reach the boats in time. The Titanic's bow was soon underwater. Then, at 2:17 a.m., the Titanic split in two. More water rushed in, and the two parts of the ship slipped underwater and sank to the bottom of the ocean. About 1,500 people did not survive that night. For many years, people discussed the tragedy and what may have caused the unsinkable Titanic to sink. Some people tried to locate the ship, hoping to find clues to help them understand what happened, but the water was too deep, too dark, and too cold. The mystery of the Titanic tragedy went unsolved. Following curiosity. As a boy, Robert Ballard was very curious about the ocean. He explored the beach in southern California where he grew up. His parents and teachers encouraged his curiosity about the ocean. Robert spent hours fishing and exploring the sea life in tidal pools. Then he learned how to snorkel and scuba dive. Robert followed his curiosity and studied many subjects to prepare for becoming an underwater explorer. He studied geology to learn about rock and minerals, and he studied other sciences too. In the U.S. Navy, he received more training. Robert went to work for Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution in Massachusetts and studied Earth's oceans. He became interested in shipwrecks and decided to find the Titanic. By 1985, advancements in technology allowed for more remote ocean exploration, so Robert and his fellow scientists went to the area where the Titanic had sunk. They first used a small video camera to study the ocean floor. Robert and his co-workers also used sonar, which enabled people to locate distant things using sound waves. One day, sonar showed marks on the ocean floor. Soon the group discovered pieces of ship and a hull, which is the main part of a ship. By comparing what they saw with old photographs, the team members knew they had found the Titanic. At first, they were so excited that they yelled and clapped. Also, later, they felt sad. They held a memorial service for the ship's passengers who did not survive. Robert and his co-workers began to videotape the ship and study the tapes. However, winter was coming. The rover's curiosity would have to wait. The sea had become too rough and dangerous for the exploration to continue. A closer look. In 1986, Robert and his team returned better prepared. They now had Alvin, a submersible that allowed the person inside it to get into tight places underwater and move quickly. Robert also brought the Jason Jr., which allowed a person above the surface of the water to control it. Robert's team used Elvin to view the decks and rooms of the ship's wreckage. They recorded more video, and Jason Jr. also took pictures. The explorers were amazed at and saddened by what they found. The bow and stern of the Titanic were 1,900 feet, 579 meters from each other. Between the two pieces of the ship was a debris field. The team saw shoes, a safe, a bathtub, and even part of a doll. Robert and his team also saw that the iceberg had struck the ship's hull, causing the damage that allowed water to rush in. The weight of the water caused the ship to sink. Robert tried to protect the Titanic from treasure hunters. He did not want anyone to take the things that belonged to the ship or its passengers. But in the following year, salvagers took away thousands of items from the ship. Some of the items were placed in an exhibit. Robert Ballard is still protecting the Titanic. Every time someone explores the shipwreck, the remains are damaged more. Robert's goal is to get the governments to sign a treaty or agreement saying that no one may take anything from the ship. Robert believes the Titanic should be respected as a memorial to those who died aboard it. The United Kingdom and the United States have both signed this treaty. Lessons from the tragedy. After the Titanic tragedy, shipbuilders no longer believed the ship could truly be unsinkable. Crews became better trained to take care of passengers in emergency situations. People learned the importance of putting enough life jackets and lifeboats on each ship for all passengers. The Titanic also taught people about the incredible power of the ocean. Scientists have discovered that the shipwreck's metal is being eaten away by tiny bits of rust. Tourists and divers have also added to the ship's problems, littering it with everything from artificial flowers to soda bottles. Protecting the Titanic is a way to protect history. The original artifacts on the ship tell a story that needs to be heard as it really happened. Every time people remove something from the Titanic or add something to its remains, they change history. Whenever this happened, it became harder to tell what happened to those 2,200 passengers over 100 years ago. A Titanic survivor. Milvina Dean was 9 weeks old when she was carried aboard the Titanic. Along with her parents and brother, she was going to the United States. Her father hoped to open a tobacco shop there. Milvina and her mother and brother survived the sinking of the Titanic. Aboard their rescue ship, baby Milvina became a celebrity. Everyone wanted to hold the littlest survivor and take her picture. The Dean family returned to England. During World War II, Milvina helped her country by drawing maps for the government. She became a celebrity again in his 70s and often attended Titanic conventions.